Hello Dub Nation, it's always a thrill to connect with you, especially as we're about to reveal the latest news that could shape the fate of our beloved Golden State Warriors. But before we dive into this whirlwind of information, let me make a friendly request. Show us some love by clicking the like button to strengthen our bond, and hey, if you are not subscribed yet, join our channel for a thrilling and emotional journey. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay ahead of the game.
Steph Curry's bizarre halftime ritual that drove a six-time All-Star crazy. Everyone's so worried about. Steph Curry, four-time NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors, is without question one of the most electrifying, and at times infuriating players the league has ever seen. He's the greatest shooter in NBA history, a master of movement, and a nightmare for defenders even when they do everything right. But as dominant as he is on the court, it was something he did off the court that left one six-time All-Star shaking his head. The halftime habit that left teammates baffled. According to former Warriors teammate Damian Lee, Curry had an unusual halftime routine that fueled his second-half explosions. He would read tweets about himself during the break. Speaking on the Straight to Cam podcast, Lee revealed he'd literally type his own name into Twitter at halftime. Just scrolling, seeing people say stuff like, "Steph Curry washed," or whatever. He'd look for maybe 2 minutes, close his phone, and then come out in the second half like a man possessed. It sounds crazy, but it worked. Curry is one of the most feared third-quarter players in NBA history. The Warriors consistently came out of the locker room on fire, and Curry's mental trick might be part of the reason why. Like Michael Jordan before him, he found ways to create motivation, even from haters. If MJ had played during the Twitter era, he might have done the exact same thing. This mindset, using criticism as fuel, sets legends apart. But not everyone is on board with this new era of social media-driven self-motivation. DeMar DeRozan isn't impressed. That was never a thought for us. Six-time All-Star DeMar DeRozan has seen this trend rise among younger players, and he's not a fan. To him, it signals a deeper issue, a creeping insecurity fed by the need for constant validation online. On 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony, DeRozan pulled no punches. Dudes always on their phones, worried about what people are saying. I saw a guy search his name on Twitter at halftime. That was never a thing when we played. There was no social media back then. No distractions. Now it's like everyone's so caught up in the wrong stuff. How they look, what they're wearing, skincare before the game. It's like, what happened to just hooping? Just going out there to compete, to win, to leave everything on the floor. DeRozan, now a veteran presence with the Sacramento Kings, isn't trying to throw shade, he's sending a warning. In his eyes, too many young stars are focusing on the image, not the game. And while Curry may have the mental strength to use social media as fuel without letting it derail him, others might not be so lucky. The takeaway: are players too focused on the wrong game? There's a bigger question lurking behind these stories. Are today's players too distracted? Is the pressure to build a brand and manage a persona taking away from the passion for the game itself? Curry's ritual might seem odd, but for him, it worked. He's an outlier, a mental fortress in a social media storm. But DeRozan's point stands. If up-and-coming players are spending halftime searching their names instead of locking in, that might say more about the culture of the league than any single player. One thing's clear: while Steph Curry might scroll Twitter to light his fire, others would do better listening to a veteran like DeRozan, before the noise drowns out the game. Curry's competitive edge, or social media obsession. To be fair, Steph Curry's habit wasn't about vanity. It wasn't about feeding his ego or checking how many likes he got. It was surgical. He was looking for doubt, for disrespect, for that one tweet that said he's done, or he's overrated. Then he'd take that negativity and turn it into fuel. But that kind of mental toughness is rare. And that's what makes Curry an exception, not the rule. The concern, as DeRozan pointed out, is that younger players are mimicking the behavior without having the mental framework to handle it. They're not searching for motivation, they're searching for approval. And when the feedback isn't what they want, it shakes them. It distracts them. It diminishes their edge. DeRozan's message didn't go unnoticed. NBA veterans react. Is today's game losing its soul? After DeRozan's comments aired, several NBA veterans and analysts echoed similar concerns. Former players like Richard Jefferson and Matt Barnes chimed in on social media, agreeing that the modern NBA is too focused on optics. These young guys care more about the tunnel walk than the walk-off win, Barnes posted. Meanwhile, Jefferson said on ESPN's NBA Today, "It's not about hating on the younger generation. It's about reminding them what this game is really about. The grind. The hunger. The hoop." Even fans joined the debate online, sparking heated conversations about whether the NBA's culture is evolving or eroding. Some praised Curry's use of social media as genius-level mental jiu-jitsu. Others criticized the overall shift in focus, from performance to persona. A tale of two generations. At its core, this is a generational divide. Curry, despite being a modern-day icon, still embodies an old-school mindset. He finds a way to weaponize distractions instead of being ruled by them. On the other hand, DeRozan, a player who came up in the pre-Instagram era, feels like the soul of the game is slipping away. "You used to show up to prove something," DeRozan said. "Now guys show up to be seen." That line struck a nerve. Not just because it came from a respected vet, but because it echoes what a lot of people, coaches, fans, even front office execs, have been quietly thinking. What happens when the motivation shifts from competition to validation? What this means for the next generation of stars. As the NBA continues to welcome new talent, young stars like Anthony Edwards, Paolo Banchero, and Scoot Henderson, the influence of social media will only grow. And the question becomes, who will rise above it like Curry? And who will be consumed by it? Coaches across the league are already re-evaluating how they mentor young players. Several teams have even brought in mental performance coaches to help players build resilience in the face of online criticism. The Warriors, in fact, were one of the first organizations to invest heavily in player wellness and mindset training, perhaps part of why Curry thrives in that environment. DeRozan's words might just be the wake-up call this generation needs. The bottom line, it's still about the game. Curry might scroll Twitter at halftime, but then he drops 25 in the third quarter and walks away with a win. He's earned the right to do things his way. But not every player is Steph Curry. And that's the lesson here. It's not about the phone, or the tweets, or the drip you wear walking into the arena. It's about what you do when the lights are on, when the ball is tipped and the scoreboard is live. At the end of the day, the players who remember why they started playing, and block out the noise, will be the ones who rise to the top. NBA fans react to Jimmy Butler's slip-up, and worry it might rub Warriors teammates the wrong way. Jimmy Butler seems genuinely excited about joining the Golden State Warriors for the upcoming NBA season. But in his eagerness, he may have made a misstep that could ruffle a few feathers in his new locker room. On paper, the Warriors look like they should be contenders. A core of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, all battle-tested veterans with championship DNA, could be seen as one of the most dynamic trios in the league. Under Steve Kerr's leadership, Golden State still carries that golden pedigree. But let's face it, this isn't 2017. Curry, Butler, and Green are all in their mid-30s now. The clock is ticking. Injuries loom large. And the Warriors, truth be told, haven't done much this offseason to surround their stars with the depth they'll need for a deep playoff run. And Butler? He might have just said the quiet part out loud. Butler embraces the Robin role, but forgets the rest of the cast. Shortly after the trade that brought him to the Bay Area, Butler took to Instagram, leaning into his new role alongside Curry. "I'm on my way to greatness, man," he posted. "Robin's gonna be that guy this year. Batman will handle his business. And Draymond? He's the Batmobile. He gets us where we need to go. He does it all." It was a clever, heartfelt metaphor. But then came the fumble. "Who else do we have?" Butler asked mid-video. "I don't know. But Golden State." That one line set off a storm online. NBA fans didn't hold back. Fans immediately jumped into the comments, and onto social media, with mixed reactions. Some laughed. Others cringed. "Bro doesn't even know who's on the roster," one fan joked. Asking who else did we sign? 30 days before training camp is wild, another wrote. He named 3 dudes and Buddy Hield. "Dubs are cooked," said a third. While Butler's comment may have seemed careless, some fans actually sympathized with him. Maybe he didn't name anyone else because he knows they might all be trade bait, one supporter suggested. "Not even I can name another impactful player on this roster." "Can't blame Jimmy," another added. The sentiment was clear. If Butler doesn't know who his teammates are, it's not just on him. It's a reflection of the Warriors' underwhelming offseason. The Warriors' quiet offseason isn't helping. Let's call it like it is. The Warriors haven't exactly reloaded. This summer, they lost Kevin Looney in free agency, and there's a strong chance both Gary Payton II and Pat Spencer are out the door as well. Rumors have swirled around potential signings like Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton, but nothing has materialized. And relying on a 39-year-old Horford, who's openly thinking about retirement, or Melton, who's recovering from an ACL tear, doesn't exactly scream championship favorite. It's no wonder Butler's mind went blank when trying to name the rest of the squad. Sure, Brandon Podziemski, Buddy Hield, and Jonathan Kuminga are expected to return, but none of them have proven to be consistent game changers. At this point, they're more question marks than solutions. Can Batman, Robin, and the Batmobile really carry this team? Butler may have unknowingly said what many have been thinking. If the Warriors are going to make a serious playoff push, let alone chase another title, it's going to fall almost entirely on the shoulders of their aging Big Three. Curry, Batman, will have to play at an MVP level. Butler, Robin, must be the relentless two-way force he's known to be. And Draymond, the Batmobile, will need to keep everything running, on both ends of the floor. There's still hope in Golden State. But it's a hope rooted more in legacy than in roster depth. Butler's moment of honesty, intentional or not, might have struck a nerve. It may even motivate the rest of the roster to prove him wrong. But unless someone outside the Big Three steps up in a big way, this team's title window might be closer to closing than anyone in the Bay Area wants to admit. Inside the locker room, will Butler's comments create tension? While Jimmy Butler's remarks may have been unintentional, the impact inside the Warriors' locker room could be harder to ignore. NBA players, especially role players, are hyper-aware of how they're perceived by stars. When a new teammate publicly forgets you're even on the roster, it stings. Multiple league insiders have suggested that some Warriors players took Butler's comments personally. According to a report from Bay Area Hoops Wire, at least one young player was caught off guard by Butler's dismissal and saw it as a lack of respect. "You want a leader to come in and lift guys up," one team source said. "Not act like you don't exist." While it's unlikely that a public fallout will occur, especially this early, it's clear that chemistry will be something to monitor closely during training camp. Steve Kerr will have his hands full. As the respected architect behind 4 championships, Steve Kerr has always emphasized team culture, cohesion, and mutual respect. That culture was one of the reasons Kevin Durant fit in for a time, and why aging stars like Andre Iguodala remained impactful well past their physical peaks. Now Kerr faces a new challenge, integrating a strong-willed vocal personality like Butler into a locker room that already has outspoken veterans in Curry and Draymond. Butler's passion and leadership are undeniable, but so are his past clashes. His time in Minnesota and Philadelphia both ended with reports of tension, largely around his direct, no-nonsense style. If Kerr can channel that energy in the right direction, Butler could become the emotional spark the Warriors have lacked since the decline of their bench depth. Warriors fans are divided. Fan reactions have been split down the middle. Some have embraced Butler's fiery mentality and brutal honesty. They see him as the missing piece, a no-excuses competitor who can push the Warriors back into title contention. Others, however, are more skeptical. The idea of Butler brushing off teammates before even playing a game in blue and gold rubbed many the wrong way. "We love the energy, but come on man, learn your teammates' names first," one fan wrote on Reddit. "If Jimmy doesn't learn to trust the guys around him, we're done before we even start," another added. Meanwhile, in the front office can't ignore the spotlight that Butler's comment has shown on their quiet off-season. The lack of significant signings has gone from a background concern to a glaring issue overnight. Some reports suggest that Mike Dunleavy Jr., the Warriors' general manager, is now under pressure to make a late splash before the season begins, possibly by pulling off a trade to deepen the bench. Golden State has been linked to players like Kelly Olynyk, Tyus Jones, and Bojan Bogdanovic, but salary cap complications and limited assets make major moves difficult. Still, if the Warriors want to silence doubts and keep their core motivated, they may need to act soon. The bottom line, time is running out. Jimmy Butler didn't mean to cause drama, at least, not intentionally. But in doing what he's always done, speaking his mind, he's exposed a vulnerability in the Warriors' championship armor. There's no denying that the core of Curry, Butler, and Draymond is elite. But without real support behind them, and with internal chemistry now under the microscope, this Warriors team is walking a tightrope. Their window isn't shut just yet. But if Golden State wants one last deep playoff run, They'll need more than just Batman, Robin, and a Batmobile. They'll need a full cast of heroes ready to step into the spotlight. What crazy things Steph Curry did to a Warriors